So, today we remember St. Vincent of Saragossa, which already presents a small difficulty because remembering martyrs can sound rather noble and abstract, can't it? Especially when the martyr in question has been dead for 1700 years. From that distance, martyrdom can begin to look rather neat and tidy, can't it? Polished by songs and icons, sanctified into myth. In real life, of course, it's rarely as tidy as that. Vincent was a deacon in Spain during the reign of Diocletian, as I mentioned earlier. He was in the 4th century. And the authorities wanted him to do one simple thing: bow to a statue of the emperor, or put a libation, as it was called, a small sacrifice of wine or incense on the altar of the emperor. You see, the powers that be, the emperor and all his stormtroopers, weren't after his blood. What they wanted was his compliance, his obedience to them. Diocletian, like several Roman emperors, did not merely rule, he expected to be revered. The emperor was increasingly treated as a divine figure, a guarantor of peace and order for society. His empiric proclamations were announced as good news, gospel. Where have we heard that before? Citizens were required to demonstrate their loyalty by making a simple libation, a pinch of incense, a splash of wine at the foot of the emperor's statue, and then to renounce their old gods in favor of this new imperial god. Doesn't sound like much, does it? It's a gesture, it's a civic duty. It's like saluting the flag, as they do in the United States. It's a way of saying, I accept that this is how the world works. And maybe that's precisely what made it so dangerous. Vincent could have just done it, couldn't he? He could have just gone along with it. I imagine I probably would have done, because I'm a chicken where it comes to conflict. He could have poured the wine and muttered a little prayer and then gone home and carried on believing whatever he wanted to in private. Plenty of people do exactly that when power tries to push them in a different direction. But Vincent didn't, and nor did Saint Faith. And I wonder if that's because Vincent sensed that this wasn't really about religion at all. It was about who or what gets to claim authority over a human life. You see, here's the problem. Systems that demand absolute loyalty don't cope very well with people who won't play along. Sometimes, like that poor woman Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis a week or so ago, people who won't play along with dominating power find themselves shot in the street. And that, I think, is where martyrdom begins. It's this collision between, on the one hand, the will of the powerful, and on the other, the human spirit that refuses to be bossed around. Something has to give, the system or the individual, and usually it isn't the system that ends up losing. The psalm that we heard just now and you've got in front of you is worth contemplating, especially that first line. It's written by somebody who clearly knows that pressure from society on him. Be gracious to me, O God, he says, for people trample me. All day long, foes oppress me. This is the voice of somebody who's being worn down, who's being watched, who's being leaned on. And yet the psalm does something, I think, really rather lovely and quietly subversive. It imagines God not as the one who instantly fixes everything, but the one who notices the suffering. The psalmist writes, "You have kept account of my tossings," meaning tossings and turnings in bed. And then, "Please put my tears in your bottle." That's a lovely image, isn't it? Of God carrying around a bottle in which he keeps human tears. You see, according to the psalmist, God notes and holds our human suffering. And he refuses to let suffering be dismissed as inevitable or necessary or simply something we must go through for good order in our society. According to the psalmist, God holds our suffering just as he holds our hand. Or, if you prefer a more metaphorical image of God, which frankly I usually do, God, the very idea of God, offers us a mirror for our suffering, a way of examining it. You know how when you look in the mirror in the morning, you want to see, oh, has that zit popped yet? You know, is my hair, absolutely perfect? We examine ourselves, don't we, in the mirror. God is a kind of mirror for humanity. He's a way of helping us to make sense of our lives and, yes, of our sufferings. In the gospel reading from Mark, it was Jesus who was doing the suffering, but it looks a bit different. Jesus isn't being imprisoned or tortured like St. Vincent, not yet. Of course, you know how the story moves on where Jesus is concerned, but he's almost crushed by the crowd. Everyone wants something. Everyone is pressing in on him. And Mark, in typical Mark fashion, recounts this story in a breathless and hectic pace. And did you pick up all those towns that he said people had come from? It was from Judea and Jerusalem and Idumea and beyond the Jordan and the region around Tyre and Sidon. You just have this picture of all these people pressing on Jesus. So much so he has to organize a boat. He gets his disciples to get him a boat so he can go out a few feet from the shore and not be crushed by this crowd. But then something rather odd happens. The unclean spirits recognize Jesus and they shout out exactly the right words. "You are the Son of God." And Jesus, what does he do? He sternly ordered them not to make him known. Jesus tells them, shush, don't tell anyone that I'm the Son of God. I don't need demons going around telling people I'm the Son of God. You see, even the truth can be dangerous when it's recruited into the wrong kind of power structures. Jesus refuses a form of recognition that would have turned him into a tool of power, even a holy one. That, by the way, my brothers and sisters, is why Christian nationalism is such a dangerous trend. It's all about power and who holds it and who wields it and who uses it to oppress others. So that's the theology, that's the unpacking of these stories. The story of Vincent, the story of that psalmist giving his suffering to God, the story of Jesus. I wonder how it speaks to our own moment. We live in an age that is dominated, isn't it, by demigods. Politicians who speak as if they alone were the only ones who can save or fix or restore a nation. Those who demand loyalty, not just to a set of policies, but to themselves personally. They demand personal fealty. We see it on the world stage, don't we? We watch strong men who cultivate the image of invincibility, who rewrite history to benefit themselves and to expect obedience and gratitude in return. But if we're honest, that misuse of power doesn't stop on the world stage. Power like that has a habit of trickling down. Now, some people listening to this sermon today, some of you online maybe, will know what it is to live under the quiet but oppressive rule of a dominating presence in your life. Maybe it's a partner, maybe a parent, maybe a boss. Some of you will know how peace is maintained only by keeping someone else happy, by making the small libation, by not saying the thing that mustn't be said, by making those small daily sacrifices to another person's ego. And some of us, if we're brave enough to admit it, may occasionally find ourselves on the other side of that dynamic. Sometimes we are the ones who rather enjoy having everybody defer to us and defer to our opinion. We rather enjoy being right all the time. We rather enjoy being the ones whose mood sets the temperature in the room. St. Vincent exposes the fragility at the heart of all such power. He had no power at all in worldly terms at the moment of his death. All he could do was refuse that gesture, that libation that would have made everything so much easier for him. Just bow down to the darn statue. You can imagine the Roman soldiers saying, look, just bow to a statue. But by resisting, he revealed the limits of the authority that's ranged against him. The state could break his body, but it could not make him worship. St. Vincent doesn't invite us to seek suffering. That way lies madness, as many a suicide bomber can probably attest beyond the grave. Rather, St. Vincent invites us to notice where pressure is being applied in our own lives, or maybe where we are applying the pressure on others. Where the quiet demand to comply, to conform, to keep our heads down is the strongest. And to ask gently and honestly, what would be lost if we gave in to that pressure? What piece of our soul do we give away if we give in to that pressure? The answer may not be dramatic. It may simply be we give away our voice or our integrity or our freedom to walk, as the psalmist puts it, before God in the light of life. And maybe that's where faithfulness usually begins, not with grand gestures, but with the decision not to bow to the wrong thing, even when doing so would make life a great deal easier. Amen. Amen.